Hey guys, Lex here, back for some more of the Great Ace Attorney. Last time we were trying to figure out how the knife got in the victim's back, and after that, we should hopefully finish this trial soon. Did she slip on the snow?
Take that!
Doesn't... Huh? What? That answer appeared to make Mr. Gerda rather lightheaded. But Mrs. Gerda didn't bat an eyelid. It would seem you've been cut down in your prime. Oh. Must watch out for blades falling from the heavens, my learned friend. They may strike at any time. Not what you want to hear from the Reaper. If the knife fell straight down and hit the victim in the middle of her back, then her back must have been facing the heavens at the time. But why? What could have happened that might place her in that position? Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, please present the evidence in which you speak. It's the books? Did Natsume drop the books? This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare. Oh. Duh. She picked this up. I'm dumb.
Take that!
Can't believe I didn't think of that. This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. The burnt book. Is that not Mr. Garadeb's book? Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all know, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. Quite so, as part of his wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road. It's true, however. As part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked up the book on her own volition. And clearly that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. Oh, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? By Jingo. I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now. Oh, dearie me. We all know the book fell from the top floor of the Garadeb household on the pavement below, at precisely the moment the victim was walking past. Yes, exactly that moment. The young woman was walking on the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. Oh, the book I threw. Yes, Miss Garadeb. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it. But I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that's exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh, heavens. And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, stab! The next object to fall from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. She'll probably be fine. At that same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Well, I never. It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there was never a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Poor Mrs. Garrett. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? Yes. Jail. I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book. And I threw the knife as well. John, dear. It's all right. I know. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry! Ooh. Oh, my back. Oh, God. That old man still has guilty. Lord Van Zeeks, what news of Mrs. Gardepp? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could easily have been a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There is some good news, however, my lord. I have just had word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. Strange, we've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once either. Oh, how wonderful! The woman is out of danger, it seems. Yes, that is good news. So, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Oh, man. Ah, yes! On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurably unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. Oh, it is me who should be begging for your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when that young woman collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she'd had been killed too. Suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. Can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Saseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, poor man. So, when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should have never dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help. For a doctor. For the police. Instead, I managed to create a rift in the relationship between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry. One could say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zeeks and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both. Oh. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings in court? As the foreman of the jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't expect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sitting in for the old bean whilst she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision would be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, that's about time. Oh, say, I have a Kokoro of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Yay! We win! Very well, Mr. Saseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you. Confetti time! Yeah! And fireworks, I forgot. And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh, yes, Lord, sir. You are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me. Oh, yes, sir. Of course. On my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported to tears. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. And that's crazy. _20th of February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey, the Defendants Antechamber. Oh, locum! Wait, you mean me? Of course! Is there another locum here? Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Narod Esquire, your name has become rather short, has it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last, I'm free, I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation. Heady, hearty, happiness, hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that then? Locum, you did it! You saved me from the brink. Well, what happened to that poor woman is in no way your fault after all. I'm just glad everyone could see that now. No, not that. Lovely, loyal, welcome lawyer. Yes? I mean, as I said before, I just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I could see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback. Oh dear, I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume. But today, you, local lawyer, gave my gloom the boot. You stood behind the baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!" Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you. This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan. An anecdote? Is that what's become of all my hard work? Ah, there you are, my dear fellows. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you. I see I'm here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say. Oh. The trial should begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo. I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished. What? No, then my haste was in vain. Ah, it's you, Airlock Sholmes. Oh, have we met, sir? Oh, this is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming. This is all your fault, Airlock Sholmes. You're the reason I get to go through all this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned the poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Ah! Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have gained consciousness by now. Oh! But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behaved. Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Priceless. Oh, I am sorry, really, but that was quite priceless for Sasaki-san. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty. But there's no bright side. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume? Even after all this, I'm still cursed by the spirits, and now by the Reaper. Oh, Lord Van Zeeks. I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed. It will be all right, Mr. Natsume. Huh? If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Hi-ya! Ah! With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Mrs. Sato. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan. Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon. Oh. It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I've visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here, and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it's my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it. It was very touching, Mr. Natsume. Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse. That's not it at all! The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws at my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own. Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read. And what about Mrs. Sato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry, what about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And only now does it feel as though we have finally found our feet. And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Well then, you could take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room. Ah, but what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up with a floor, a ceiling, and walls. Great. And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit? Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an ineffable wake-up call. We'll think about it, if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Really? Yes, please. Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Though it is up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of. Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to take lodgings in the great detective's office's attic. I'm too overcome for words. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out of then. And it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes. Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long. Somebody's happy. Oh, come. I knew that you wouldn't let me out. I'm truly delighted to have met you here at Latte. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you, too. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author. Well then, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I've little doubt Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 221 Baker Street. Oh, there's more? 20th of February, 4:41 p.m. The attic room. So this is to be our new office, yes. Our office? I rather like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you could see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Huh. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it. Good. I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you.
I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate. Iris, let me help you. Alright then, Susie, you could be in charge of the salad. Splendid.
Oh, phew. So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. Can't help wondering what adventures await us. Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry. London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you are well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Well, that was pretty cool. I think that's the first Ace Attorney case where no one got murdered or died. Landed in London, achievement unlocked. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!